With the fibre to the home development today, I discussed with Stephen Conroy before. I want to get your thoughts on this. Is there a chance that much of the upgraded infrastructure becomes redundant anyway because of 5G?
Well, there has always been a problem with the advent of 5G, Kieran, that it would be a competitor, particularly to more inferior technology. That's long been understood in telecommunications analysis, that mobile and fixed networks are complementary, they're not substitutes. But when you get to a stage where consumers will not choose a particular technology or favour one over the other because of issues such as price, such as reliability and other technical considerations, then it certainly does become a problem for a network that has inferior technology. And that has always been the case when it comes to the copper-based second-rate network that this government has built.
So with companies like TPG, Vodafone threatening to take their 5G products into the fibre to the node areas, there was the chance that they basically would lose the NBN, all those particular customers.
Certainly a very great risk for NBN Co, especially considering that those private sector mobile operators, they're in there to make a profit. So they would be seeking to advance their technology as much as possible, to promote its latency, to promote its speed and other features that it would have over inferior technologies such as copper.
So is fibre to the home then? I know Labor argued in the past that this was the future-proof technology. Is it still future-proof despite the gains that have been made elsewhere in wireless and so on?
It's absolutely future-proofed because what you've got here in terms of fibre is a network which becomes a conduit for everything else. You simply change the electronics at the ends in order to make it do different things. It has a level of quality that far exceeds that of copper and HFC, which will leave Australians wondering why it is that it's taken 7 years for this government to admit that it was wrong and do the biggest policy backflip in a generation that it's announced today.
Well, isn't it, the answer is quite simple, isn't it, that they were losing customers basically, that, you know, I think the number originally under the NBN plan was that 16% of homes would not sign up. Essentially that was the rough estimate. Since in recent times the NBN hasn't been looking at that percentage, or not releasing it publicly anyway, the percentage of homes they expect not to sign up because it's been increasing.
Well, let's be very clear, Kieran. The vast majority of complaints about the NBN are on the inferior networks that have been rolled out under this government, including, for example, their failure to properly dimension and ensure satellite and other fixed wireless capacities. Those are technologies that actually should work, but instead this government has wasted so many billions of dollars. Think about it. 50,000 kilometres of new copper, enough to wrap around the planet Earth, at a time when we should have in the first place rolled out fibre and been properly dimensioning satellite and fixed wireless services, particularly for regional and remote areas. This government has gotten the big calls wrong every time when it comes to nation building and when it comes to ensuring jobs and productivity and future-proofing Australia. So this backflip now from this hapless minister, this completely embattled Minister Paul Fletcher, simply demonstrates that this government did not have a clue 7 years ago, has wasted billions of dollars, but most of all has left consumers, small businesses and students absolutely wanting the best technology and not getting what they deserve as Australians.
What do you say to the argument by Mr Fletcher, as he's put today repeatedly, that the way that they rolled it out to enable an upgrade at a later point helped them expedite the rollout?
Oh, what absolute nonsense. I mean, any Australian will tell you if you're going to do a renovation, if you're going to build something, you do it right the first time, because otherwise you're going to have to go back and spend more money fixing it up. This embattled minister, who was parliamentary secretary to Malcolm Turnbull and is now the minister, this government under his watch said that their NBN would cost $29 billion. They've already overspent that by $25 billion and more, announced today. And they said it would be finished by 2016. Completely failed on every test. This minister, his credibility is completely shot. I doubt that there is an Australian who would accept that argument, particularly when you consider not only the wasted money, but the wasted opportunity over those 7 years, simply because out of spite, they said that they did not want to support this plan.
Once the upgrade is done and that millions of homes will be able to get that fibre to the home arrangement, will we end up in the same place that Labor would have been anyway, albeit a couple of years later, according to your estimates?
Not just years later, billions of dollars later. And unfortunately, over that time, you have a look at our region, you have a look around the world, the great advances that have been made to their economies as a result of having high-speed broadband. And you look at where we were when this government came to office. We were ranked 30th in the world for broadband. We're now 62nd. So think about it. This government now talking about the NBN as being a driver of productivity, jobs growth, nation building. Well, forgive me, Kieran, but it is very unbelievable that there's some sort of epiphany that has gone on here with this government suddenly realising that fibre was the answer all along. They've wasted everyone's time, they've wasted taxpayers' money, but most of all, it's the wasted opportunities for Australians.